To you, this might look like a cheap roll of $1.50 blue tape from Home Depot. But for me, as your Raleigh Realtor, this could literally represent thousands and thousands of dollars in your pocket, making sure that your new construction home is exactly the way you want it before you move in. Well guys, today we're gonna be talking everything about blue tape walkthroughs, what they mean, why they're absolutely critical, and what you need to know before that meeting with your builder. Okay guys, let's dive in and save you some serious money. Hi guys, Michael Sanders here, your native Raleigh Realtor over at RE/MAX United in Raleigh. Okay, so here's the reality guys. In 10 years plus of selling new construction homes all across the Triangle area, in my time I've come across some pretty shocking things involving new construction. So a lot of these things could have been prevented. Now, the thing about it, most of the home builders in the Raleigh area are gonna deliver some quality homes. Now, in spite of that, I've witnessed corners being cut, inspections that have been rushed, and quality control teams stretched dangerously thin. I'm talking about problems that could cost you maybe tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe even more if you don't catch them at the right time. The fact of the matter is, the builder's motivation to fix these issues will never be higher than it is right now, right before you close on the home. If you miss this window, then you could be fighting an uphill battle for potentially years. Today we're going to be covering literally everything, what a Raleigh new home blue tape walkthrough actually is, the sneaky common issues that I see constantly, and the deal breaker problems that need immediate professional attention. Plus, I'll share with you why a third-party home inspection is absolutely crucial. Yes, even on a brand new construction home, and why radon testing is so important in the Raleigh and the Wake County area. Plus, I'm going to give you guys some insider tips you probably aren't aware of yet. Now, you may think that the county, the town, or even the builder do their own inspections. Well, they do, but here's the big difference. A lot of these municipal inspectors, they don't really have the manpower to really spend the amount of time on each inspection that maybe somebody like yourself is going to want to make sure that everything in your home is absolutely the way it should be before you move in. Now, you're typically going to do two walkthroughs. One is going to be the initial walkthrough, where you're going to pretty much be walking through the house, tagging everything. Then following this is going to be a follow-up walkthrough, where you're going to make sure that all the stuff that you tagged for fixing during the first walkthrough has actually been done. Another key part of this process is walking through the home with your builder, showing you how your new home works, where the main water shutoffs are, how the HVAC system operates, how to manage your electrical panel, and so on. You're going to want to pay close attention during these walkthroughs because this is your chance to ask questions. It's kind of like a crash course on your new home. This is where experience is really going to come into play. Once you sold hundreds of new construction homes and worked with literally countless home inspectors and read hundreds of new home inspection reports, along with conducting literally hundreds and hundreds of on-site home visits throughout a home's construction process, you're going to learn how to spot subtle issues that really aren't immediately obvious. When you know what to look for and understand which issues are worth fighting for versus which ones are minor, it makes all the difference in protecting your investment. And as your realtor, I'll be right there along with you during the walkthrough, marking issues with blue tape myself and calling out things that I spot. It's literally an extra set of eyes right there working for you. Hey guys, really quick, if you're finding the information in this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you take a second and click the like button below. It really helps out my channel quite a bit. And if you're serious about your move, whether you're buying or selling in the Raleigh or the overall Triangle area, I've created a 56-page Raleigh area buyer and seller's guide. This thing is going to be packed with all kinds of information, insider tips, neighborhood details, and a lot of crucial market information. It's completely free, and you can grab your copy right now by scanning the QR code on your screen. Okay, so there are a lot of things that are very common that I see pretty much on nearly every brand new construction home throughout the Raleigh area. Many of these things are going to be minor, but sometimes they can be red flags that are going to tell you how thorough or not your builder's quality control really was. Electrical issues can be a big concern. I'm constantly seeing loose connections in circuit breaker panels and wall outlets that weren't properly secured. But the one thing that's really crazy, drives me insane, are unlabeled breaker panels. Trust me guys, when your lights go out in the middle of the night because you tripped a breaker, you won't be over here playing electrical roulette, flipping random breakers, hoping you hit the right one. And in literally every single walkthrough, I find at least one or two loose or crooked outlet covers. It seems like a really small thing, but it's a clear sign that occasionally things were rushed, which makes you wonder what else they hurried through. Doors and windows can also tell a pretty big story about workmanship quality. I'm talking about things like loose closet handles, sticky hinges, doors that won't close flush, latches that don't actually latch. These show up in almost every new construction home I walk. If your home has magnetic or ball socket latches, ensure that they actually latch securely where the doors don't swing open on their own. I've seen entire door frames installed so crooked that they look like funhouse mirrors. I mean, it's crazy. I've seen sliding doors that literally jump off the tracks the very first time you use them. And here's a dead giveaway. When a junction between the wall and the ceiling looks like a winding mountain road instead of a clean 90-degree angle, well, that's a massive red flag that I've seen personally. And then of course, guys, not only have you got cosmetic issues in a home, but you've also got issues like plumbing. Now this is where things can get really expensive and really ugly if you have a problem. Guys, I recently had a home in Wake Forest where I found a completely clogged HVAC condensate line that was ready to literally flood my buyer's utility room. Now this is a disaster that we avoided only because we caught it early. This next issue is honestly one of my biggest pet peeves in new construction. And I literally find it in every price point, all the way from $200,000 townhomes all the way up to $1 million plus luxury builds. We're talking about flooring issues. And this one is a big one, loose, squeaky subflooring. This is absolutely a pre-close punch list item that you won't fix before you move in. This is not something that you're going to want to be dealing with when you've got a house full of furniture. I've walked through homes where the floor squeaked so loud it sounded like a haunted house every time somebody walked up the stairs. Every chance you get walking through the home, you're going to walk over every square inch of the floor that you can, especially in an upstairs home, which this happens to be a ranch. But you're going to want to find those squeaky spots now, because if you don't, you're going to be literally hearing every single creak for years until you eventually replace the carpet, which is really the only convenient time to do something about it after you've moved in. Now downstairs, a lot of your new homes in the $400,000 to $700,000 range are going to come with engineered hardwood floors. Like in here, this is luxury vinyl plank. You're going to want to make sure that you walk all the floors, including the engineered vinyl, to make sure that you're not going to have gaps between the vinyl. I've seen sometimes where the gaps are big enough you could stick an edge of a quarter through. Even worse, sometimes when you're walking these floors, you can actually feel the floor shifting and flexing beneath your feet, which just usually means that it's been poor installation over an uneven subfloor. The problem is it's only going to get worse over time. And another thing, when you're in a carpeted room, you're going to want to make sure that you walk near the corners of the room. Do this without shoes on so you can feel anything sharp. Around the corners of a room is where they actually attach the corners of the carpet to the flooring. And a lot of times, especially if you have small kids, you don't want them walking over these exposed nails. Now, when it comes to things like brand new concrete, like this patio here that actually looks really good, also sidewalks, driveways, sometimes you're gonna notice little hairline cracks when you're doing your walkthrough. Now, sometimes these hairline cracks can be about 1/8 of an inch wide. Now, these are gonna be pretty common due to shrinkage, settlement, temperature changes outside, like today when it's like 100. You're gonna notice material changes as the concrete cures. These are generally acceptable imperfections with concrete, like the 1/8 of an inch, especially if they occur within the control joints and they really don't change much over time. However, if you start seeing cracks that are wider than these 1/8 limits, or those that run across control or expansion joints instead of just following them, then these are usually going to be considered unacceptable. These are going to include problems with design, curing, maybe even soil movement, and these are going to be something that you're going to want to have evaluated for potential structural or moisture issues. And here's something that's a little bit unique to our specific geology in this area of North Carolina, and that's going to be radon. You're going to definitely want to look into a radon test when you buy a new construction home. Radon is a colorless, odorless, radioactive gas, and it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. Now, the good news about it is most Raleigh builders are going to provide you with free remediation if they check and the levels are elevated. Now, when you get your home inspected, this is something that you'll have the option of doing. So if your inspection comes back with a high level of radon, just leave it to your realtor. I get it occasionally. I take the report, note the radon level, get it worked out with the builder, and I've never had a problem having it remediated. Okay, so here's where you, the home buyer, are gonna need to take a little bit of control. You're not just the buyer, you're gonna be the quality control manager for your biggest investment ever. First, you're gonna wanna master the inspection report. I tell people, don't get intimidated by this. The joke I always share with people is when you get the inspection report, it's gonna literally look like the old New York City yellow pages. It's gonna be like that thick. Don't freak out. It's my job to help you break everything down and understand what truly matters in the report. You're gonna wanna really focus on the priorities. Now, you're not gonna wanna just skim the report. You're gonna wanna understand pretty much all the details. And again, that's what I'm here for. for you to ask questions until we make sure that everything is clear and you're pretty happy with everything. Now, you're still going to want to look at the possibility of bringing in a professional opinion for anything that is serious. Now, usually 98% of the time when I see an inspection report, there's nothing really extremely serious. However, it does happen. Occasionally you want to bring in a structural engineer. If it's an electrical problem, maybe a licensed electrician. You don't want to guess on the big stuff. This is exactly where an experienced realtor is going to become invaluable to you, connecting you with the right specialist for that critical second look that sometimes you're going to need. Now, you as the home buyer, you're going to want to document as much as you can. Now, that's where your realtor is also going to come into play. Whenever I go during multiple site visits, I'm taking notes, taking videos, doing everything I can to document anything that looks out of place. Another thing during the walkthrough, you're gonna wanna always look underneath things, inside cabinets. You're gonna wanna look behind appliances. You're gonna wanna always be looking underneath cabinets for unfinished painting. Sometimes things are missed in less visible spots. Another thing that a lot of people don't even think about doing is checking their fireplace, especially when it's the middle of July and it's like 105 degrees outside. Always check the fireplace, make sure it's operable. A lot of times it's not. All right, so here's where I'm going to share with you guys some insider strategies that, I'll be honest, most people don't really even think about. Now, the first thing is strategic inspection timing. It's about smart timing these things. So you're going to want to make sure that you have your inspection at least 3 to 5 days prior to your walkthrough. This is going to give you the full report to discuss with the builder and your realtor. Make sure that all the utilities, the water, electricity, and the gas are turned on and functioning during the time of both your inspection and your blue tape walkthrough. You can't truly test a home without all these things running. Consider a pre- and post-drywall inspection. Most buyers only think about inspecting the finished home, but a smart move is to have an inspector come out during construction, if at all possible. Get a pre-drywall inspection to catch framing, electrical, and plumbing issues before they're covered up with drywall. This is going to be the only time the home is going to be able to be inspected where you can actually see the bones of the home before it's covered up with drywall, where you can see it with your naked eye. Then following this, you're going to want to get a post-drywall inspection before you do your final blue tape walkthrough. Now, this is going to involve usually a small upfront investment, depending on the inspector. It could be $300 to $400. But let me tell you guys, catching these major flaws before they're hidden can save you thousands and countless headaches later on down the road. Another thing that people don't think about is what I call the critical 11-month warranty inspection. Now guys, this is going to be pure gold. Keep in mind, about 11 months after you move into the home, right before your 1-year builder's warranty expires, a good thing to do is hire a professional inspector for one of the final comprehensive looks throughout the home. And this is going to reveal anything that's settled, shifted, or moved during that first year of living in your home. It's going to involve things that maybe you didn't notice for a while until you actually live there, which happens all the time. Since your builder's warranty typically covers nearly every item and most cosmetic items, but not all, then you're going to want to know that for that first year, this is going to be a golden opportunity to get those things corrected and do it while it's still free before the warranty expires. I actually had a client who discovered their hardwood floors were starting to separate the seams, and their HVAC system was making strange noises, and several outlets had stopped working properly. All of this got fixed because of this free 11-month inspection that we caught all this stuff before the warranty expired. Without that inspection, they would have been looking at thousands potentially in repair costs. Oh, and here's another thing to really keep in mind when you're doing these walkthroughs. You got to keep in mind that no home is going to be perfect. I don't care if it's a $100,000 fixer-upper or a $5 million home. Everything is built by humans. So as a general rule, when you're walking around a brand new home, you're going to notice cosmetic imperfections. I always tell people to use the 3 to 5 foot rule for cosmetic imperfections like paint scuffs on the wall and small nicks. And that rule is pretty much if you can clearly see it from more than 3 to 5 feet away, then it's going to be worth mentioning to the builder. Another thing that the builder and your realtor is going to probably show you during the walkthrough is your air filters. Now, builders are often going to install pretty basic air filters during the construction that's going to get pretty dirty with dust and debris. One thing that you're going to want to ask your builder about is to replace these filters before you close. Then for your long-term use while you're in the home, don't go buying these super expensive, heavy HEPA air filters. Instead, you're going to want to get what I call the El Cheapo ones, the ones that might not sound like they're super great, but trust me, the super cheap ones are much better on your system. It's almost like drinking a thick milkshake through a tiny straw. Your system pretty much has to do that same thing with these heavy HEPA filters. So every 1 to 3 months, depending on your filter type, you're gonna wanna check your filters and just change them out with these cheap ones that are gonna work so much better. Another good tip is during the blue tape walkthrough, if you haven't already done so, then this is gonna be a fairly convenient time to take precise measurements of rooms. You're gonna be able to measure your doorways, you're gonna be able to measure spaces for appliances, maybe measure areas for your new furniture, your refrigerator, your washer and dryer. You don't want to wait until moving day and find out that the space that you thought you had for your washer and dryer isn't going to work. Okay, from out-of-state buyers, if you're someone who lives far away from North Carolina and you can't be there for maybe the walkthrough or the final walkthrough or maybe an inspection issue, no sweat. One of the things that I do for all my buyers, especially those that it's inconvenient, during the entire construction process, I do regular on-site visits. I'll FaceTime with you. I'll make videos for you during every on-site visit. It's gonna be almost like you're right there beside me, walking through the home, looking at everything that has undergone construction, and you're gonna be able to follow it just like you were there. Another crucial tip that you're gonna wanna be aware of is long-term care, involving things like countertop services. Now, in a lot of the homes today, you're gonna have non-porous quartz countertops like I'm looking at right now. These are never gonna need sealing. But the thing is that it's pretty universally suggested that porous natural granite surfaces are going to need to be resealed every 1 to 3 years to protect against stains. Similarly, cement-based grout, which you're going to most often find in wet areas like showers, are going to really benefit from sealing for stain and moisture protection. Non-porous epoxy grout, which you're typically going to find used in flooring and backsplashes like behind me, you're pretty rarely going to need the same amount of attention for these. You're going to always want to know the materials you're dealing with before spending a lot of time and money on home maintenance. Hey guys, I'm really curious if you yourself have ever happened to own a home. Tell me what's the worst construction issue that you yourself have ever encountered. Drop your answers in the comment section below. I read and respond to every single comment. And if you're ready to find your perfect new construction home in Raleigh or Wake County or pretty much anywhere in the entire Triangle area, don't make a mistake. Get Mike and get moved.